If you have a 1999 Twincam 88 and your crankcase looks like this, your early crankcase, and you're working on some upgrades, hydraulic tensioners, updated oil pump from stock, or high flow oil pump like this one, Screaming Eagle, you may have two major issues. One of them is the shorter back cut on the pinion shaft, the first few months of the early production of Twincam 88. And the reason why that can cause major issues is because as you install the oil pump and the plate and you torque everything down, because the back cut will not accommodate the wider pump, this will cause the motor to sump and your pump will fail. Now the second issue is this hole here, which is larger in the crankcase 2000 onwards, because the oil pumps from 2000 have longer snouts, as you can see. There's also a picture here. Difference is roughly 2 millimeters. And when you're trying to install your updated oil pump or your high flow one, as you push it in, the snout will hit the crankcase and it will not seal properly, will cause sumping issues, and you can also damage the oil pump as you're trying to torque it down. You damage the housing as well. So now I'm going to show you how to check whether or not you have the problems. So first we're going to check the back cut on the pinion shaft. So just install, you don't need the O-ring here. Install the housing. Install the cam plate on here. Put the bolts in for the oil pump. I just snugged them down. So now what we're going to do is move the cam plate with the oil pump back and forth, flush to the crankcase. If the back cut was short, I would feel resistance here. I would have to push it. So that's good news. Kind of expected that mine would have the longer back cut, as I found out that my bike was assembled March 1999. And it was only the first few months of the early production that had the issue. Apparently they started manufacturing the Twincam 88 motors July 1998 for the 99 model year. So we're only talking about a few months from July 98, but I'm not really sure, so it's really worth checking it. Now checking on this side, there is a bit of a gap, so it won't go flush to the case, and it's because the snout of the oil pump is longer and it hits the case. Now I have no intention of messing around this hole to make it larger like in the 2000 up crankcase. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grind down a little bit here so that the snout can go into the hole without hitting it. Jam some paper towel in there so the dust wouldn't go in, but I'm gonna clean it out anyway. So I'm only taking just a tiny bit off, marked it. I'm gonna finish up with a file. Still a tiny bit longer than the stock, but not that much. I think it'll do the trick. And I rounded the edges nicely so the O-ring can slide on easy, just like the stock. I'm gonna clean it out now and see how we did. So I did the same thing, install the pump on the shaft, cam plate, pull the oil pump to the cam plate, snug these bolts down, and now we're gonna see whether there's a gap between the crankcase and the cam plate. Goes flush to the crankcase, and I can't put the feeler gauge in there anymore. There's no gap. Just double checking the other side as well with a thin 2000s feeler gauge, but I can't slide it in there, so we're all set. I'm just gonna quickly remove the oil pump to give you a few measurements. Just measured the back cut for you. Obviously I can't do an accurate measurement here, but it should be around this figure if you have the long back cut. If it's roughly a millimeter shorter, so in the 28 millimeter range, then you may have a problem. But it's best to check with the method I've shown you now. As far as how much wider the updated pumps are, this is the stock 99 oil pump with one separated plate. And this is a Screaming Eagle with two separated plates without the spring washer. I can't compress it that much, so just measuring it separately. So we're looking at roughly a millimeter difference between the two pumps. I assume that's the kind of difference we'll be looking at between the shorter and the longer back cut on the pinion shaft. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I'll see you next time.